Let me ask you something. Would you watch your own children starve just to protect the freedom of a complete stranger thousands of miles away? I mean, it sounds like some kind of test from an ancient myth, right? A cruel moral experiment. But for the people of one city, this impossible choice was devastatingly, horribly real. It all kicks off with a mystery. Right in the middle of Manchester, England, you'll find this statue of Abraham Lincoln. And yet, it's a pretty odd sight, thousands of miles from Washington, D.C. But listen, this isn't some modern diplomatic gift. Now, this is a memorial to an absolutely extraordinary act of solidarity. It's the key that unlocks a story most of us have completely forgotten. And that story is all about how this hunk of bronze became a monument to a group of people that historians now call the starving heroes of Manchester. It's a tale about a city that was forced to choose between its very survival and its conscience. I mean, just think about that. This was the brutal choice staring them in the face during the American Civil War. They could support the slaveholding South, get the cotton flowing again, and feed their families. Or they could stand with the Union for the principle of human freedom and just keep starving. So to really understand the choice they made, we have to understand their world. We need to jump into Time Machine and see exactly how an English city got so wrapped up in America's war. Back in the mid-19th century, Manchester had a nickname, Cottonopolis. It was the world's first honest-to-goodness industrial city, a real powerhouse. Its skyline wasn't full of church spires, it was a forest of towering chimneys from these massive steam-powered mills, just pumping out textiles for the entire globe. But the engine driving this whole economic miracle, well, it ran on a very dark fuel. You see, the city's white gold, that raw cotton that fed those hungry machines, it came almost entirely from the plantations of the American South. And it was all harvested by the hands of enslaved people. And the irony here is just brutal. You had these two groups of people, an entire ocean apart, but they were both trapped in the exact same global system. In Manchester, you had the wage slaves, and that included little kids, working in absolutely horrific conditions, with life expectancies as low as 25 years old. And then in America, you had the chattel slaves, who had no freedom at all. Both were being exploited for the very same engine of profit. So Manchester's entire existence, its whole identity, was tied to this single, incredibly fragile supply chain. So what do you think happens when that chain just snaps? Well, in 1861, the American Civil War explodes, and to strangle the Confederacy's economy, the Union Navy throws a blockade around all the southern ports. Almost overnight, the river of cotton flowing to Manchester just dries up. And by 1862, the result is immediate and it's catastrophic. The Lancashire Cotton Famine begins. Can you even imagine the sound of a city dying? That constant, thunderous roar of the mills, the very heartbeat of the region, it suddenly just stops. A great silence falls, and with it, hundreds of thousands of workers are thrown out onto the streets, plunged into unemployment and starvation. And right into this desperation walks a very tempting offer. Confederate diplomats show up in Britain, and they start whispering to the mill owners and the hungry workers, hey, just pressure your government to break the blockade. Support our cause. The cotton will flow again, your children will eat. All you have to do is endorse our right to own other human beings. The pressure from the wealthy and the politically powerful must have been immense. So how did the workers, the people who were actually starving, how did they respond? Okay, get this. It's the very last day of 1862, New Year's Eve. Thousands of these workers, men and women with empty stomachs and desperate families at home, they packed themselves into the city's free trade hall. They weren't there to celebrate. They were there to decide their city's moral fate. And what they decided, wow, it would echo through history. Instead of caving, they wrote a letter directly to President Abraham Lincoln. They declared their unwavering support for the Union, saying that slavery was a foul blot on civilization and that their ultimate desire was to see it wiped out, no matter what it cost them personally. Lincoln, fighting this brutal war thousands of miles away, was absolutely floored. He wrote back, and his words are just filled with awe and gratitude. He called their sacrifice an instance of sublime Christian heroism which has not been surpassed in any age or in any country. He saw that in a world of cold, hard economics, they had chosen something more. They had chosen character. This incredible act, it wasn't just some one-off event. It was woven into the very fabric of the city. It really became a key part of Manchester's moral DNA. I mean, you can trace this thread of defiance and principle all through the city's history. From the Peterloo Massacre, where workers died fighting for the right to vote, to being the very place where Friedrich Engels came up with the ideas for the Communist Manifesto. It's this spirit of resilience that got the city through the Blitz, through industrial decline, and even through the horrific arena bombing back in 2017. And today, Manchester is having another so-called miracle. It's one of Europe's fastest-growing cities. Its GDP growth is even beating London's. But as all these glass skyscrapers rise, the city is still wrestling with that same fundamental question from 1862. Who is the city really for? Because even with this boom, it's facing a staggering increase in homelessness. The story of the starving heroes really forces us all to ask a timeless question, doesn't it? Is the true measure of a city, or really any of us, found in its wealth and its capital, or is it found in the strength of its character when it's faced with an impossible choice?